Hi, good morning, and thanks for joining us today. We're going to give it a couple of minutes just to make sure everybody that registered for the webinar can actually join. If you can hear me, please make sure your line is muted. We will give you an opportunity to unmute your line and ask questions as needed, but if you could keep it unmuted to reduce the background noise, we would appreciate it. Thank you. Okay, we're going to get going. We have a lot of material to cover today, so I'm sure people will join. Some more people will join as we continue. Um, Thanks again for joining us. I know this is, the end of the year. We've had a long program year, and you've done a lot of work out there, and we appreciate all the work that has been done. The tool we're going to be discussing today, some of you have already heard about it, the applicant tracking system. Because we debuted the system in the annual conference, particularly to the administrators, but we want to make sure that we gave you more in-depth training to all the individuals that are going to be using this tool in the field to profile their graduates to employers, and we want to make sure you understand all the technical aspects of it. So uh, again, welcome to the Applicant Tracking System webinar. Thank you for taking the time. We know that you are very busy out there, but for the next 3 hours, you'll have an opportunity to learn about the Illinois Works Applicant Tracking System, which is a new tool that we're putting out there to our provider network. The target audience for this program are individuals accountable for data entry, data management, pre-apprenticeship program completion tracking, transition support, follow-up services, or any task related to maintaining contact with cohort participants after they graduate from your program. Job titles that may participate and can benefit from this training include program administrators, program managers, program coordinators, transition services coordinators, and data entry coordinators. Once again, my name is Norman Ruano, and I'm the Deputy Director of the Office of Illinois Works at BCEO. It's great to be here. We have been working on this system now for a while. We capture a lot of feedback from different programs, different stakeholders to see what was needed and how it was needed. And that's how this system was developed, just to ensure that we had a tool that was user-friendly, but it could also do what it needs to do, which is profile your graduates to contractors. Um, with me today is Dr. Gia Suggs. Gia, if you could please go ahead and say hi to our audience.
Good morning, everyone. Welcome.
I also have Christine Flynn with me today, who's going to be also part of this course. Christine, if you could please go ahead and say hi.
Hi, good morning, everyone.
And also with us today is a new grant manager of the Office of Illinois Works, Dan Martinez. Dan, if you could please say hi to our audience.
Good morning, everyone. Welcome.
And it's possible that Kimberly Hill, who's our Chief Operating Officer, will be joining us later on today. She worked very closely with us in designing and implementing this tool, so she may join us later on. And if she does, I'm sure she'll say hi. Um, The Illinois Works, as you know, most of you know, was created as a result of Governor Pritzker's historic initiative with a program called Rebuild Illinois, which is a $45 billion capital plan. And what's really important about this capital plan, not only is it focused on rebuilding the infrastructure in the state of Illinois, including bridges, roads, hospitals, colleges, high schools, you name it. But the most important thing also is ensuring that there is commitment to expanding equity in the Illinois construction workforce. This exciting new initiative creates opportunities for Illinois businesses, communities, and families with an equity focus. During this course, you'll be provided with information about Illinois Works, the Illinois Works applicant tracking system, how it connects each of the Illinois Works 3 programs, as well as how the tracking system can be used to enter, search, and track pre-apprenticeship program graduates. In for our whole course, it's very important that we really ensure that we have a holistic approach to how we train you related to this system, because it's a little different than how the Illinois Works reporting system works. So our objectives today is to describe the 3 key programs implemented as a result of the Illinois Works Jobs Program Act, explain how the Illinois Works applicant tracking system connects each of the 3 key programs, and that's the key here about this technology that we're discussing today, is that it connects all of the Illinois Works programs, determines system permissions, who can or cannot do different functions or execute different functions in the system, utilize the system features, what are the features of the system, how you use them, and access the dashboards available in the system. Not only for you, we'll also tell you about some other dashboards that are available, but not for other audiences, but not necessarily to you, but you should know how the system works in general. Please keep in mind this session is being recorded, and it will be made available for review at the Illinois workNet partnership page, which is the page where we upload all of the webinars that we deliver. It should be available in the next 2 to 3 days there. So if you want to hear it again, something you didn't understand, you want to review it, you can and find it there. The link is being now for you in the chat by Christine, so that if you don't have that link to the partnership page, please take advantage of that link. The other thing I wanted to mention is that we will be providing a break at about the half point of this webinar. This webinar is supposed to last from 9 a.m. to noon. We will provide a break, a 10-minute break at the half point, so that if you need to take care of some things, just come back on time. So as we proceed with some of the most technical content, you are present. Please let me know if you have any questions. If you have any questions, please go ahead and enter them in the chat or unmute your line at this particular moment. Very, very important that as we go through all the features and the technology, that we address any questions just to make sure that people are ready to go. We will be providing for you a memo via email indicating by when all of your graduates need to be entered in the system. We want to make sure that they are entered as soon as possible so that employers have access to graduate information. Any questions or comments before I move on? Christine, any in the chat?
There are no questions in the chat.
Okay, great. So because most of you taken webinars with us, we're assuming at this point that you know the WebEx features and how they work. So we're gonna skip that content and focus more on what you hope to learn today and who is with us in the classroom. I wanted to emphasize that we'll be able to, give you opportunities throughout the course for you to ask questions. You'll have an opportunity to actually do hands-on practice. So if you really have a question, you could ask it in the chat or you can unmute your line. Let's just make sure that Once you unmute your line, you mute yourself back again so that we don't have background noise, okay? So getting going here, if you could please use the chat feature right now and give us your name, the organization or grantee that you work for, and the role that you play in the organization, and also the geographic location, your geographic location. So your name, your organization, agency, the role you play there, and your geographic location. Let's do that for a few minutes, not only to recognize who's here, but also to ensure that we know who has attended and the type of roles that we have represented in the course. Sister Girls and Friends is here. Community Development Institute is also here today. Good morning. Revolution Workshop is here. Tools Up is also here. Dominique, some other staff members. We also have Jackie from Skills USA, Goldie Fleming from EDDR Corporation. Youthville Lake County is here with us today. Lumity is also here today. Hasia is here today. EDDR, someone else from EDDR is here. Again, both for Chicago and Rockford. Macon County is here with us today. Southwestern Illinois College is with us today. Again, Sister Girls here with us today. Someone else from Lumity, someone else from Sister Girls. You could please keep on mentioning who's here. Clark County Urban League is with us today. St. Paul Community Development is here with us today. Who else is here? We have a total of 39 participants with us. Hire 360 is with us today. Someone else from Hasia has joined also. South Suburban Community Services is with us today. Anybody else who has joined us would like to introduce themselves and let us know they're here. Well, thanks again to those that have gone through the process. Appreciate you being here. You know, someone else from Revolution Workshop has also joined. It's a pleasure to have you here and spend this time with you going through this new technological tool. So if you could please, using the chat, answer the following question. What do you learn today? What is it that you're looking to learn, not only about this new technological tool and how it operates, but more importantly, why is it so important to the Illinois work system? What is it that you hope to learn about this, you know, in this webinar today? If you could please go ahead and enter that in the chat, that would be great. The news of the new tool, we will certainly do that today. We're going to both do a demo and also you have an opportunity to do some hands-on practice with the tool. What else do you plan to learn today or you want to learn today? How to properly use the tool and all of its functions. That is certainly something that we're going to be doing today. How to match program participants for better opportunities. We'll certainly discuss that today. You know, helping participants find a job. That is ultimately the goal of this tool. How to navigate the platform. Yes, certainly we'll be talking about the navigation of the platform. How to make smoother transitions for students. This is certainly a tool that you can use with your transition system, with partnerships, but you know, it's certainly one tool. There are other tools that should be used in transitioning. The process of how participants can obtain employment opportunities and navigate the new tool. We will certainly talk about that in the role that employers play within this system. How it will make an impact on Illinois Works graduates. Certainly that's ultimately the goal, to have positive impact, and this tool certainly was created to do that. Streamlined method to updating all data in a timely manner. we will certainly talk about that and how to update data here in this applicant tracking system. And it's different than what you do in IWRS, but we will certainly discuss the two differences there. Having a context for long-term relationship management. Yes, this is a tool for managing, once a participant graduates, for managing career management way into the future. 10 years later, they can still be in this tool. Learn anything for the advancement of the company and more tools that will be efficient for data entry for our records. This is really a tool that is very different than IWRS, so we'll discuss that, and I want to make sure that there is a clear understanding of the difference between IWRS and the applicant tracking system. Functionality and relevance, yes, certainly. We will be talking about that today. So thanks again. In general, all of your interest today, we're going to try to address. Any questions or comments before we move on to our next section? Okay, great. If there are no questions or comments, we're moving on to section number 3, which are the 3 key Illinois Works programs. This is going to be a review for most of you, but we are really doing this review because our interest is to start connecting the dots, and more importantly, to really understand how the Illinois Works applicant tracking system connects the dots of all the programs of Illinois Works. Your particular program focus is the pre-apprenticeship program, but the Illinois Works system has 3 programs that work together, and the applicant tracking system is the system that connects the 3 programs to have the impact that we need to have. So by the end of this section, you'll be able to describe the role of Governor Pritzker's historic $45 billion capital plan in the creation of Illinois Works. Explain the role of the Illinois General Assembly regarding the Illinois Works Jobs Program Act. Describe the unique characteristics of the Illinois Works Innovative Workforce Development Model. And more importantly, explain how the applicant tracking system connects each of the programs. So as I said, it's going to be a review for most of you, so I'll go quickly through this. I want to really make sure that we emphasize how this applicant tracking system, different programs of Illinois Works, connects all the dots in our system. Illinois Works, again, was created as a result of Governor Pritzker's historic $45 billion capital plan, which is called Rebuild Illinois, and his commitment to expanding equity in the Illinois construction workforce. This is a top priority of the governor's 5-year economic plan. With capital funding set to pave the way for tens of thousands of jobs over the next decade, the Illinois Works Jobs Program Act was intentionally designed to increase equity and opportunity in capital construction jobs. The intention is to reinvigorate the workforce of Illinois for the future. How did the Office of Illinois Work come about then? Governor Pritzker is committed to expanding equity in the Illinois construction workforce. This is driven by data that shows that for too long, the construction industry and the trades have not been equitably accessible for diverse communities. In fact, fewer than 10% of the best paid apprenticeships are extended to women and minorities. So the Office of Illinois Works obviously came about as a result of this effort in order to implement the different programs that were passed as a result of the Jobs Program Act. So the Illinois General Assembly passed the Illinois Works Jobs Program Act on June 28, 2019. Through the Illinois Works Jobs Program Act, the Illinois General Assembly appropriated funds for the pre-apprenticeship program, which is the program that you work in. The Illinois Works Jobs Program Act is a statewide initiative to ensure that all Illinois residents have access to state capital projects and careers in the construction industry and the building trades. The goal is to provide contracting and employment opportunities to historically underrepresented populations in the construction industry. And as you know, those historically underrepresented populations, according to the Illinois Works Jobs Program Act, are women, minorities, and veterans. This act is intentionally designed to increase equity and opportunity in capital construction projects. The passing of the act led to the creation of the Office of Illinois Works, which is a new bureau within DCEO, tasked with the responsibility of implementing the Illinois Works 3 key programs. So the big question that we have, obviously, is we have this system that was passed through a law, and it has the intention of creating reinvigorating the workforce in the state of Illinois and bringing equity to construction and the trades. How is that done, right? That's a big question. How is that done? Well, it's done through the implementation of an innovative workforce development model. Um, and it's very unique and innovative because it creates job demand, it creates a talent pipeline, and it also creates incentives to hire and retain. Most of the workforce development models either have one of components or maybe two of these components, but you hardly ever see a workforce development model that has three components working together. The talent pipeline is typically the component that most organizations and people know about because that's where the training happens, preparing people to enter the workforce. Job demand is a very hard component to execute, but it is part of the Illinois work system. And at the same time, incentives to hire and retain are part of our system. And these three, as I said, these three components are not typically included in workforce development model. So the Illinois Works programs create a comprehensive response to workforce development at all levels. Illinois Works is in a one-of-a-kind initiative, and it's in a very unique position to make a huge difference in the state of Illinois. So, as I mentioned, three components: job demand, talent pipeline, incentives to hire and retain. How do we operationalize those three components of our model? The DCO Office of Illinois Works, with the support and partnership of communities, the building trades, and the construction industry, delivers three key programs to be able to operationalize those components that I mentioned. The three key programs are the Illinois Works Apprenticeship Initiative, which addresses job demand, the Illinois Works Pre-Apprenticeship Program, which addresses the talent pipeline, and the Illinois Works Bid Credit Program, which addresses the incentives to hire and retain. Let's start going over these programs, just summarizing them, making sure that you understand how they operate. And then we're going to start talking about the applicant tracking system connects them all. So the first program is the Illinois Works Apprenticeship Initiative. So this is the job demand component of the puzzle that we were just looking at. This program opens doors of opportunity into the construction industry and the building trades. And the question is, how does it do that, right? It applies to public works projects with an estimated cost of $500,000 or more, including capital grants, loans, and direct capital contracts and awards. In summary, the goal is for the U.S. Department of Labor certified apprentices, not limited to pre-apprenticeship program graduates, to perform 10% of the labor hours, either the actual or estimated hours for each wage category or classification in the project. So in other words, if there's a project that is $500,000 or more, the contract for that contractor is going to say that 10% of the labor hours in each of the wage classifications, meaning in each of the trades, laborers, carpenters, electricians, operators, need to be executed by apprentices. By having an established goal, contractors generally find themselves in need to hire more apprentices, which in turn results in higher demand for apprentices, which translates into more opportunities for community members to enter the industry. So by having this 10% goal, contractors now find themselves in need to find apprentices. And the way, obviously, the system works is that when you have a need for more apprentices, go into the market to look for apprentices. And that's where the second program comes in. But before I talk about the second program, let me just tell you the current status of the Apprenticeship Initiative, which is one of the programs in our bureau, the Illinois Works Bureau at DCO. The Apprenticeship Initiative is operational and working on the compliance of state agencies. So state agencies that have funding to execute these projects are required to comply with Illinois Works requirements. We are presently overseeing, the Office of Illinois Works is presently overseeing the compliance of more than $10 billion worth of state-funded projects that are being executed throughout the state of Illinois by more than 10 state agencies. So these state agencies are required to comply with Illinois Works. We have a team at Illinois Works that works with state agencies to ensure that they're complying with that 10% requirement, with that 10% goal. So what that means again is that there's more demand for our apprentices in the market, which means that there's more opportunity for people to come into the construction industry because contractors are looking to hire apprentices to go into the system. So that's the first program, which is the demand part of it. The next DCU Office Works Illinois Works Office key program that we will review is the Illinois Works Pre-Apprenticeship Program, which is a program you know well because you are part of that program. This program is the one that addresses the talent pipeline. The Illinois Works Apprenticeship Initiative creates demand for jobs, and the Illinois Works Pre-Apprenticeship Program creates the pipeline of diverse candidates to help respond to that demand. So, with the demand, there's need for people to come into the industry. The pre-apprenticeship program is the one that's preparing individuals to go into the construction industry, and then through our process, be able to match them to those needs that employers have. The Illinois Works Pre-Apprenticeship Program creates a qualified talent pipeline to fill job opportunities with diverse candidates. It launched in 2021 with the release of the NOFO, and on January 1st, 2022, the first 23 programs of the Illinois Works provider network became operational. Very, very important to keep in mind that our goal is to create significant demand. So our responsibility is also to create a significant number of graduates that are ready and able to enter the construction industry. So out of those 23 programs that became operational the first year, the large majority of them were given offers to renew the grants for 2023. In addition, new grantees are going to be joining the network in January of 2023. This program delivers pre-apprenticeship skills training through a network of community-based organizations, including community colleges, faith-based organizations, other nonprofit organizations, and business associations, among others. So in summary, the Illinois Works Pre-Apprenticeship Program delivers skills training. So again, it's not just supportive services, it's a training focused model. It gives preference to underrepresented populations that have historically encountered barriers to entry or advancement in the trades, including minorities, women, and veterans. It is tuition free. Participants, community members do not have to pay in order to participate. In fact, they receive a stipend to attend the program. And is being funded by a $25 million appropriation that was originally made when the General Assembly passed the Illinois Work Jobs Program Act. That first appropriation is being used for our first year of programming and is also being used for our second year of programming. And we are in the process right now of working to secure a second appropriation, $25 million appropriation that will fund our 2024 programming, and on we're going to go every year, securing $20 to $25 million a year to continue to fund this program into the future. As I have mentioned before, and it's very important to keep in mind, the Illinois Works funding mechanism, it's a sustainable funding mechanism. It's all state money. There is no federal money involved, and it's a sustainable mechanism. We are looking to fund this program way into the future to ensure that we have the impact in the construction industry that we need to have. Any questions at this point, Christine? Any questions in the chat?
There are no questions in the chat.
Okay, great. What's the status of this program? As I mentioned, this program is fully operational. It started operating January 1st, 2022. We're almost at the end of the first program year. We're in fact in the closing process of our first program year. All of you have either started or are in the middle of your process. Some of you may have already finished, but there's a whole closing that's going on right now. But it's fully operational. As I said, a list of grantees was announced in January of 2022. And in January of 2023, the Illinois Works Provider Network will consist of 30 to 35 providers located throughout the state of Illinois with capacity to serve 1,400 to 1,500 participants. In fact, Dan Martinez, who's here with us today, conducted recently an analysis of where we needed to have programs throughout the state of Illinois. Uh, and of all the economic development regions that need representation of Illinois Works, there's only one economic development region that will not have representation in this program year. We're working to secure representation for that region. And of all the counties in the state of Illinois that needed representation, there's only 4 counties that need more representation. So the Illinois Works system has done a good job at securing coverage and developing capacity in local communities throughout the state of Illinois to have the impact that we need to have. Any questions in the chat before we move on to the last key program of the Illinois Work System?
We do. We have a question in the chat from Mike Connolly. So he's asking, is there an enforcement mechanism for the apprenticeship initiative component? It's described as a goal, but is it really a requirement? And what's the impact of the projects that meet the $500,000 threshold, but may be funded federally as opposed to by the state?
Yeah, so there's definitely a enforcement mechanism. All contracts that these state agencies uh, have a legal requirement that if the project meets the threshold qualifications for Illinois Works, that they have to comply. We go through an audit process at the Office of Illinois Works to ensure that they're complying. If contractors are not complying, we issue a notification of lack of compliance. State agencies have in their agreements the ability to enforce clauses to either not pay certain dollar amounts or put a contractor on a stop payment list with the state so that they cannot receive future contracts. So there are all kinds of mechanisms. We're also working with the General Assembly to develop a more direct mechanism from the Office of Illinois Works so that we can, apply consequences also to contractors. But there are definitely mechanisms in place for compliance. And we also have a third-party mechanism through the Illinois Works Department of the Illinois Department of Labor, where we can see how their compliance is increasing the availability of hours that are being executed by apprentices. They have to issue, the Illinois Department of Labor is tasked with issuing a report every year for our review panel. Most of the members of the review panel are elected officials, where they can see how our efforts are impacting the number of hours that are being worked, number of labor hours that are being worked by apprentices out there. So there are definitely mechanisms out there for enforcement. We are working very hard to ensure that that is happening. And at the same time, for us, the most important thing is if we create all kinds of demand, but then we don't have enough graduates, enough people to take advantage of that demand, then we have an imbalanced system. And that's the reason why we're emphasizing so much also the pre-apprenticeship program, because the apprenticeship initiative is working hard to ensure there's compliance. Okay, good. So moving on to the last program of the Illinois Work System.
We actually have one more question, Norman. Sorry.
Okay, go ahead.
So Brittany's just asking what counties are not covered.
I don't have that information available to me right now. In fact, let me see if I can pull it. Okay, so I do have it. We have McLean County, we have Kankakee County, we have LaSalle County, and we have Jackson County. Those are the 4 counties throughout the state that need coverage, and we don't have coverage in Jackson, LaSalle, Kankakee, and McLean. Okay, so moving on to the last program that is part of the Illinois Works System, let us move to the third DCO Office of Illinois Works key program, which is the Illinois Works Bid Credit Program. And this is an incentive program. So the Illinois Works Apprenticeship Initiative creates the demand for jobs. As I mentioned before, the Illinois Works Pre-Apprenticeship Program creates the pipeline of diverse candidates to help respond to that demand. But to complete the puzzle, and as importantly as the other programs, we have created incentives to help ensure that the Illinois Works Pre-Apprenticeship Program graduates are hired and retained by contractors and subcontractors. It's very important to emphasize that it's not just an incentive to hire. is actually, more importantly, an incentive to retain those graduates. So the Illinois Works Bid Credit Program incentivizes contractors to hire and retain a diverse pool of candidates. It allows contractors and subcontractors to earn bid credits by employing apprentices who have completed the Illinois Works Pre-Apprenticeship Program. Bid credits can be used toward future bids for public works projects contracted by the state of Illinois or an agency of the state. Why is this so important and relevant for contractors? Well, if you employ graduates of the Illinois Works system and you earn bid credits, you can use those bid credits to make your bids for future projects more competitive. In other words, to win business with the state of Illinois, if you use your bid credits, your bids will be a lot more competitive in comparison to contractors that are not part of the system. So it's important, it's an incentive for them, not only to hire and retain. How do we ensure that they retain our graduates, not only hire them for 30 days or 60 days and then let them go? We actually give them bonus amounts of uh, of bid credits for different benchmarks, 6 months, a year, 2 years, 3 years. They get an increasing amount of bonuses in bid credits to be able to use for future bids if they retain the participants. So in summary, what the bid credit system does is that it allows contractors again to earn bid credits toward future bids for public works projects contracted by the state or an agency of the state. Bid credits can only be earned for employing apprentices who have completed the Illinois Works Pre-Apprenticeship Program on public works projects contracted by state agencies. And I want to emphasize this. They cannot earn bid credits if if they hire any other pre-apprentice. There are other pre-apprenticeship programs in the state of Illinois. We will not issue bid credits for any other pre-apprentice that did not graduate from the Illinois Works system. And it's very important that I emphasize that word, graduate. A participant might have been part of your program and was there half of the time, was there, 2/3 of the time. If they did not successfully graduate from your program, the Illinois Work Jobs Program Act does not allow us to issue bid credits for those individuals. There's only one exception to that rule, and I'll address it when we talk about who qualifies to be entered into the system, because it's a detailed explanation. But in general, the rule is only graduates of the Illinois Works Pre-Apprenticeship Program can help a contractor earn bid credits. Okay, we determine the bid credit earning rate by rule. We are going to be posting on our website, how much they get in bid credits for different types of trades. It may change every year. The percentage may change, the trades may change, but that's all going to be uh, posted on our website. We'll be publishing the maximum bid credits that they can get per contractor, per subcontractor, per apprentice, per year, per bid. All of that is determined by DCEO, the Office of Illinois Works. And we are also in the process of finalizing the creation of a bid credit bank. It literally works like a bank. Contractors get an account, they make deposits, withdrawals of their bid credits. It's all based on hiring and retaining graduates of the Illinois Works system. Um, what's the status of the bid credit program? So the bid credit program is currently in design stages and will be ready for implementation in early 2023. However, we have already worked on the framework and we're presently finalizing the rules, the official rules for the program. And what's more important is that the applicant tracking system is part of the technological platforms that were designed to operationalize this program. So the applicant tracking system comes as a result of the efforts to operationalize the bid credit program. Any questions before I move on to closing this section and talking about how the applicant tracking system integrates all of these programs? Are there any other questions, Christine?
There are no questions in the chat.
Okay, great. So through these three programs, we are able to achieve the Illinois Works goals. If we achieve these goals, we would have successfully partnered with community stakeholders to provide a career pathway for residents in disadvantaged communities, provide eligible apprentices with skills for lifelong job security, promote construction as a viable job industry for women and minority communities, provide the construction industry with a consistent and skilled workforce for generations to come, and create new partnerships between state agencies and community organizations. Those are the overall goals of Illinois Works. If you could please, using the chat, answer the question on the screen. If Illinois Works is successful in achieving its goals, what impact will it have on Illinois communities? If we are successful at achieving our goals, from your perspective, what impact will we have on Illinois communities? More job roles will be filled. That is correct. More job opportunities and jobs will be filled. Stability and prosperity. Employing people in communities, definitely a great thing because it brings stability and prosperity not only to the families but also to the communities. Increase equity in the construction ecosystem. That is ultimately the goal of Illinois Works. Thanks for participating. Addressing workforce demand. Yes, we certainly, through one of our programs, want to successfully address that job demand. Sustainable employment. Yes, we really want to make sure that this happens for years to come, that it's a talent pipeline and a workforce that is sustainable into the future. More women in male dominated fields. That is certainly one of our key equity goals. We want to make sure that there is better representation of women in these construction fields. Um, more testimonials from people who can share about how these opportunities move them into financial stability and strengthen resources. That is certainly something we want to do. We want to hear from those individuals how we have been able to impact positively their lives. Uh, more apprenticeship opportunities for minorities, women, and veterans, leading to better jobs and addressing financial disparities in the community. That is certainly something we want to do, and are working towards. Increase equity and help close the wealth gap. That is certainly part of our goal. So you certainly understand what we're here. One key thing I want to bring to your attention, everything that you're mentioning is very positive and it's good for people and communities, but it also takes a lot of work and effort. It takes all of us working together to ensure that we're making this happen, and it takes tools, effective tools to be able to make this happen. So thank you again for your responses. As you have shared, the success of this program is critical for communities, businesses in those communities, and more importantly, those employed by those businesses. Together, we're in a very unique position to make a significant difference for all of these individuals. Now, the big question then is, how does the applicant tracking system support our goals, and how does it integrate all of these programs? So the Illinois Works applicant tracking system allows each of the Illinois Works three key components, or the three key programs that we just discussed, to successfully collaborate in compliance with the Illinois Works Jobs Program Act. The applicant tracking system allows all three of the key programs to input, share, and access critical data, enabling them to achieve the Illinois Works goals. The new database will allow grantees to share their resumes, and this is very, very important. And we'll continue to address this. Without an updated resume, it's very difficult to get your graduates hired. So the applicant tracking system requires that you upload updated resumes for your participants, that you also indicate the type of certifications they have. You also indicate what other relevant information about your graduates, so that potential employers, this is for the consumption of employers, so that potential employers who are participating in the bid credit program and are looking to hire graduates and sponsor them to DOL registered apprenticeship programs can actually get the most updated information they can get for your graduates. So that's how the applicant tracking system integrates all of this. We'll talk in a minute about that, but I want to make sure that you know that that system is very strategic on how to put these three programs together. Any questions before we move on to the next section, where we're going to start now really going in depth into the applicant tracking system?
We have no questions in the chat, Norman.
Okay, great. So moving on to section number 4, which is in a section that will talk about the applicant tracking system. At the end of this section, you're going to be able to describe the role of a tracking system, differentiate between the Illinois Works reporting system, which is IWRS, and the Illinois Works applicant tracking system. Explain how the applicant tracking system integrates all of the Illinois Works programs, and more importantly, list the Illinois Works applicant tracking system 3 key roles, okay? So what's a tracking system? A tracking system is also known as a locating system. It allows users to observe the actions of individuals or objects as they move along a continuum, supplying timely data for accessing, processing, and evaluating information. So the Illinois applicant tracking system traces the professional qualification and trajectory of Illinois Works pre-apprenticeship program graduates. So that's the key here. This system is to be able to trace the professional qualifications and trajectory of the Illinois Works pre-apprenticeship program graduates. To be able to be entered into the system, you need to be a graduate. And then information needs to be updated about those graduates through the years. It's very, very important that we maintain that information updated at all times, because the consumers of this information is contractors, is employers. If a resume is not updated, the wrong contact information is there, the individual is no longer in the state, and we're still giving employers that resume, that information, we are going to get employers getting discouraged about this system, and they may not come back to look for more candidates in order to hire and sponsor them into DOL registered apprenticeship program. So it's very, very important that we understand this is really a system to profile the graduates of your program, and it needs to have the most updated information. So many of you are very familiar with the Illinois Works reporting system, more commonly known as IWRS. The Office of Illinois Works, in partnership with Southern Illinois University Center for Workforce Development, designed the Illinois Works reporting system, or IWRS. The system was fully launched in February of 2022. And as I have mentioned before, this year, years to come, that system is going to go through different rounds of improvements. We've been getting feedback from all of you about how to improve different features. So we're investing the resources to make that happen. But that system, due to its custom design, IWRS allows grantees to track pre-apprenticeship program inquiries, participants, and grantee partnerships. This system also allows programs to track key information about participants' progress throughout their engagement with the program, including their application, enrollment announcements, career and support services assessments, enrollment and training modules, attendance, training completion, transitions, and follow-up post-completion. That's what IWRS does. What's the difference between IWRS, the Illinois Works Reporting System, IWRS, and the Illinois Works Applicant Tracking System, or ATS? Both IWRS and the tracking system help manage Illinois Works data. Data management is the administrative process of acquiring, validating, and processing data. While IWRS is the data management and reporting system designed to allow grantees to track pre-apprenticeship program inquiries, participants, and grantee partnerships, this is separate and independent from the Illinois Works applicant tracking system. The applicant tracking allows grantees to add their pre-apprenticeship graduates to a candidate pool for employers and contractors seeking to hire or sponsor apprentices. So the applicant tracking system is really designed to be outward facing, external. It's for employers. You know, we are uploading it, we're maintaining it, but it's ultimately for the consumption of employers. IWRS is the Illinois Works internal facing system for compliance reporting. So when it comes to IWRS, you know, no external features exist for IWRS. Everything is internal for reporting so that we can check compliance with our systems. The ATS, the applicant tracking system, is also internal and, more importantly, external facing system, and it allows employers and contractors to find program graduates for employment based on their requirements. So that's the big difference between both of those. The ATS is mainly for the consumption of employers. IWRS is mainly internal for compliance purposes. The Illinois Works applicant tracking system connects, as I mentioned before, all the Illinois Works programs, offering Illinois Works grantees the opportunity to add their graduates to a candidate pool for contractors and employers seeking to hire or sponsor apprentices. This is where the talent pipeline, your graduates, and the apprenticeship demand come together. This system is also a great way of contractors to connect with the Illinois Works pre-apprentices and to earn bid credits through the Illinois Works bid credit program. So that's how this integration happens, you know. To ensure collaboration between each of the key programs, the Illinois Works Act requires the following. So contractors needing to comply with the 10% apprenticeship goal will come to the applicant tracking system looking for qualified candidates to hire and sponsor into DOL register apprenticeship programs so that they can comply with this contract mandated goal. So the 10% goal is in their contract. They're going to be looking for apprentices in order to fulfill that goal if they don't have apprentices. The Illinois Works Pre-Apprenticeship Program grantees will enter the profile of the graduates and upload an updated resume. They are also responsible for keeping their graduates' information current at all times in the applicant tracking system. Contractors that join the bid credit program will also come to the applicant tracking system to look for qualified candidates to hire and sponsor into DOL registered apprenticeship programs so that they can earn bid credits. So as you can see, that whole integration happens because you are providing the graduates, you are providing their information, their resumes, providing information about where they're located, how far they're willing to travel, all of that. Contractors can come at it from two different angles. On the one hand, from the compliance angle, they need to comply with the apprenticeship initiative that requires that they meet a 10% goal for their projects. On the other hand, you have other contractors that have joined the program and they want to be able to earn bid credits, and they'll be coming at it from that angle, looking for graduates that they can hire and sponsor into DOL registered apprenticeship programs so that they can earn bid credits, because they cannot earn bid credits unless they're working with our graduates. So that's how the applicant tracking system is integrating the three programs. So how does this work? So there are some key roles that need to be played for the system to actually work and work well. So what's our role at the Illinois Works office and our staff? Our responsibility is to maintain the platform, maintain it, meaning developing it technologically, addressing any issues that happen technologically, also maintaining permissions, also checking, ensuring that the information that's being entered is correct, accurate, it's updated. That's our job at our office. Employers and contractors submit requests for program graduates based on their needs. So the employer will be able to tell us, hey, I have an opening or two openings in this region or this county in the state. This is what I'm looking for. Please give me a list of potential graduates that I can interview and or potentially hire. What's your responsibility as a grantee, either as a super user or as a regular user? You need to enter your graduate profiles and resumes, and you need to keep those profiles updated at all times. Something has changed for a particular graduate and you're aware of that change, you need to come into this system and update the system to reflect that change. We'll discuss this in more detail in a few minutes, but those are the key roles. So going more in depth about the key roles. So the Office of Illinois Works will keep the platform operational, will grant permissions for the platform. We will continuously update it based on feedback, both from you and from employers. We will respond to a contractor request for graduates and match those employers with grantees. So we're going to be doing a whole matching process where they will request a certain grantees with certain particular requirements and qualifications. We will match grantees to those requirements, send them to the employers. We will also connect those employers with our grantees on the ground so that in case they need more people or need more support, they can develop a relationship with those grantees. That's our responsibility at the Office of Illinois Works related to this. Employers or contractors, they will request graduates based on job openings, geographic needs, and other requirements. They may have requirements that people need to have 1 year of experience, or they don't care about experience, or that they need to be located so many miles away from a particular location. So they will submit those requirements to us. They can also they will also be asked to update a graduate profile with interview and hiring information. So if they interviewed a particular individual we sent, they will update that in the system. And also if they hire that individual, they will update that in the system. What's the grantee's, again, responsibility, either a super user or regular user, is enter graduate's profile and updated resume, continuously update the graduate information and status, and if you are a super user, keep the program's user permissions updated. So someone leaves, there's turnover that happens at organizations all the time. One of your users left and you want to replace that user with someone else, you need to be able to request that access in the system. So keep it continuously updated, not only in terms of your users, but also in terms of your graduates. Any questions before we proceed to section number 5?
We have no questions in the chat, Norman.
Okay, great. So moving on to section number 5. In section number 5, we're specifically going to talk about system permissions. By the end of this section, you'll be able to describe the role of the user and the super user, explain the permissions and limitations of each role, complete, and also we're gonna review the form that you completed very quickly. More importantly, we're just gonna talk about what the roles are here. So there are 2 primary roles in the applicant tracking system for grantees: the super user and the user. What's the difference between the two? So the super user is designed for program administrators, for program managers. Users with this level of access will be able to add and delete graduates of staff in the system. That's key. Not only graduates, but you also be able to add staff members in the system. You can also edit information on the staff that you add, which become users. And you could also edit information related to graduates. This is only reserved, super user access is only reserved for program administrators. So you really need to think about who the super user should be in your organization, because it should be only for program administrators. The user, however, we recommend for data entry coordinators, for transition services coordinators. Users with this level of access will be able to add and edit graduate profiles. This level of access should go to transition, as I said, transition services coordinators or data entry coordinators. We really want to make sure that we limit the access to this system. The more people are involved entering and updating information for your graduates, the more likely that we can have errors and that the information will not be properly updated. And as I said, maintaining this information updated at all times is key for us to be able to do proper matching with employer requests. So those are the 2 key roles that will be done, that will be allowed in the system: a super user and a user. Now, going more in depth about the super user. So the super user will be able to have the following rights: add Illinois Works pre-apprenticeship graduates, update Illinois Works graduate information, update the availability status of an Illinois Works pre-apprenticeship graduate. This is one of the key data points in the system. So if you have a graduate, it doesn't necessarily mean that person is available for work. That graduate may not be available, might have traveled outside of the state, is no longer living in the state. Maybe the person is in trouble with the law and is in prison. Or maybe they decided to move on to a different career after they went through the program. Even though they graduated from the program, they decided, no, I actually want to be a chef, or no, I actually want to go into nursing, or no, I actually want to go into computer technology. That's all fine. Those are all viable careers. But when it comes to us, to the Illinois work system, even though they successfully graduated from our program, that doesn't mean that they're available to be hired. So as a result, you would have to update their status. And we'll talk once we get to the technology itself. We'll let you know where you do that, because that's a important data point for us. Not only is it important to keep their profile updated, it's very important for you to tell us their availability status, because if they are active in the system, we are likely to match them with an employer that is requesting information, and we don't want the employer to be the one to find out, well, this person actually doesn't live in Illinois anymore. They live in Tennessee or in Florida, That would not be good for us. We want to make sure that these employers are engaged and see us as a viable option for them to get candidates for the job openings they have. So at the same time, the super user will be able to add program staff permissions, modify program staff permissions, delete program staff permissions, and provide real-time system feedback. Those are all the functions that the super user will be able to perform. Now for the user is, lower level access, but this is probably where the most activity will happen, because these users have the ability to add Illinois Works pre-apprenticeship graduates. They can update their graduate information. They can also update the availability status for those graduates, and then they can also provide real-time system feedback. So if you see what's the difference between the two, the super user has the ability to say who in the organization should have access, modify their access, delete their access, request access for new staff. The user does not have the ability to do that. And when we talk about the dashboards available, you will notice that the dashboard available for the user versus the super user is different because of those features, because of those functions that the super user is able to execute that the user is not able to execute. So here's a very important point, move on, that I need to emphasize. Some graduates may be employed in another sector of the economy while they wait for an opportunity in construction. If that is the case, they should be shown as active. But if they do not want to pursue construction anymore, they need to be inactive. So the graduate is entered in the system because you'll be required to enter all of your graduates. But if someone is, let's say they're working now for McDonald's, waiting for an opportunity in construction to be available, their profile should show active so that we can do matching with employers. However, they decided, I want to go work somewhere else. I'm now working in manufacturing. I don't want a job in construction anymore. Then at that point, it's very, very important that you show that individual as inactive. The individual cannot be deleted from the system. The system will not allow you to delete the individual, but it will allow you to make them inactive. So you don't individual with employers looking to hire people in construction. Any questions before I move on to system permissions and also creating a Smartsheets account? Any questions, Christine?
No questions in the chat.
Okay, great. So in terms of system permissions, at this time, only 2 individuals will be allowed into the system. However, once a super added, once that we have already added your super users in the system, you'll be able to add additional staff members as needed. So even though we requested when you filled out the applicant tracking system user submission form, we requested for you to give us 2, a super user and 1 for the user. Now you're going to be able to add more people into the system. But again, keep in mind, we want to make sure that only a limited number of people have access to this system, because we want to maintain the integrity of the data. Okay, so keep that in mind as you think about who else to give access to. All users of this system need to be employed by grantee organizations. Partners will only be provided access to the system on a case-by-case basis. You need to email your Illinois Works grant manager if you need an organization to access this system. we are going to limit partner organizations that have access to this system. It is our interest, again, to maintain the integrity of the data. So as a result, the system is designed for grantee organizations, and partners can only gain access to it on a case-by-case basis. Please take a moment to consider who is the appropriate person in your organization for super user rights or user rights, so that we have the correct individuals with access, so that we can maintain those graduate profiles in the best possible way. You were requested to submit an applicant tracking system form. Most of you, in fact, all of you did that. That form was only used once. This form you will not have to use again in the future to request access for other people. We will show you within the applicant tracking system how to go about requesting access for people. I just want to bring up the issue of that this form you did use to request access, but that was because we did not have any information for your organization, and we needed to have the first information, the first data points in order to give access to you. But going forward, you will not be using this form. In fact, this form will be disabled because it will not be needed. Okay. So Smartsheets. So Smartsheets is the software that we're using for this platform. It's a software for collaboration and work management. It is used to assign tasks, track project progress, manage calendars, share documents, and manage other work using a tabular user interface. Smartsheets is the host for this platform, and you will need an existing account to be added to the system in order to use it. You will need to have a Smartsheets account to engage in all features and functions of the applicant tracking system. So Christine sent you communication last week so that you would create a Smartsheet account. Please, using the chat, let me know if you already created a Smartsheet account. If you haven't, just say, I have not created a Smartsheet account. Again, using the chat feature, tell us if you have created your Smartsheet account. We have one that hasn't. 2, 3, 4, 5. Please keep on going. Let us know if you have not created a Smartsheet account. If you've created one. Keep on going, please. So we have 6 people that have not created their account. 7, 8. Anybody else created or have not created your account? So we have about half of the attendees today that have not created their accounts. Okay. So for those of you that have already created your accounts, it's very, very important that the account you created, the email address you use for that account, is the same email address that you use on the form that you sent us when you requested access. If it's not the same email account, the system, you are going to have problems with access. So I want to make sure that if you have already an account but did not use the same email account that you submitted to us to grant access, that you let us know, because we're going to have technical problems with your access. Okay, so please make sure if you can go through the verification process and let us know if you use a different email account to create your Smartsheets account than the one you submitted. Okay, so while you do that, I'm going to, for those of you that have not created access, I'm going to hand it over to Christine, who's going to walk you through the process to create with Smart Sheets because you will need an account in order to use the access that we already granted you through the system and in order to do the hands-on portion of this course. So Christine, please go ahead.
Yeah, great. Thank you, Norman. So I'm going to go ahead and just paste the Smartsheet link in the chat right now. So the first step that you're going to want to do is head over to smartsheets.com. And so once you click on that link, you are going to see the screen, the welcome screen from Smartsheet. So you should see that on your screen now. I'm just going to give everyone just a minute to get over there. So once you get to this home screen, all you're going to do is click on Try Smartsheet for free. And when you click on that, you're going to be brought to a screen that's going to ask for your work email address. So as Norman said, it's very important that you input your email address that you provided to us on that form. And the reason for this is because we've gone ahead and given you permission to our system, to the applicant tracking system. And so if you input an alternate email address, it's not going to link to that permission. So it's very, very important that you put in that same email address. So then you'll go ahead and put in your email address and then choose continue. And then it's going to ask you just your basic information. So your first name, last name, phone number, and then job title. And then you'll just click Try Smartsheet for free, and it will log you in. So this is just a test email, so I'm not going to go through and create an account with this test email, but this is just as simple as it is. Once you've done this, you will be brought to your main Smartsheets screen. So you'll have access to all of the dashboards that are shared with you. You'll have access to the applicant tracking system. If for any reason you don't see those on there, please let us know. It might be an issue of just the email address is not matching up or a permissions issue. But again, it's as simple as this. So you'll just put in your email address, basic information, try Smartsheets for free, and then you're in. So I will hand it now back to Norman to continue the presentation.
Can you please, using the chat, confirm if you did not have an account, confirm if you have successfully created your account. We want to make sure that you have your account before we move forward. So again, using the chat, if you could please confirm that you were successful at creating your account. Do we have everybody that did not have an email account create one? So Mike Conley is saying that the account is not linked. So Mike, is your account not linked because when you created it, you used a different one, or what happened on that one? Someone asking Christine what team they should select.
Hi, this is Gia. Christine, I can answer, and also please jump in too. But the team in this regard is really asking about your industry, your professional industry, not necessarily your Illinois Works team. So you can choose industry there. And Christine, if you want to add to that in any way.
Nope, that was perfect. Thank you, Gia.
So Mike Conley is talking about the issue he's having, Christine. So we may want to take that one on the side and address that one.
Yes, for anyone in the chat, I'm recording your names for those who it sounds like there might be just an issue. So right now I have Hector, Debbie, and Mike and Jackie that are having some issues. So if you are having issues, continue to put those in the chat. I'll capture them on my end and work to get that fixed for you.
Some people are saying that they have not received a confirmation email. Someone is asking if it needs to be the super user email address. It just needs to be the email address that was submitted for you on the user form that was submitted to us. It doesn't need to be the super user. The super user needs to have their own email account. You need to have your own email account, but it needs to be the same one that was submitted to us when we got that form. Some of the users here now say blocked due to billing. I don't understand that. Did you see that one, Christine?
I see the comment. Let me look into that. I'm not sure why. It should be just a free account, so there shouldn't be any billing aspect to it. Let me look into it.
Yeah, as long as you're not choosing, as long as you're choosing the free account, you should not be getting that message because you do not need to have a license in order to create an account, nor do you need to have a license in order to use the applicant tracking system. You just need an account. Is the team construction, that's the one that we are recommending that they use, right, Christine? Construction?
Yes.
James Jackson saying that he has issues, but James, we need to know what issues you're having. Anthony Alexander is saying that mine is saying blocked. Christine, I think that we really need to walk people again step by step in what they need to choose because I think that we have a lot of people going in all kinds of directions. Can we walk them through the process again step by step and tell them exactly what they need to choose? Because some of the comments is people are going in all kinds of directions and as a result, getting blocked.
Norman, can I also, and Christine, just one, if I may, just one quick second. Kimberly is also on the line and she may have some information that might also be valuable. So I'll just add that here. Kimberly, is there any context that you would like to add also?
Sure, thank you, Gia. At this point, everyone is just creating a user account. Once we get to the demo of the system, there will be a link that you'll use and they will show you how to actually access the system. So don't worry about once you go in looking at worksheets and things like that, they will get to that part. Right now, the focus is just creating a user account. That way you can access the system. It should be a free account. You will not need to have a paid account in order to access it.
Yeah, so that's very important. So just once you create the account, you have been successful at creating your account, we're going to be sending you a link to actually access the system. So to access the applicant tracking system. So as a result, you don't have to worry about navigating the system. So if you don't mind, let's again go through and confirm if you are still having problems creating an account, let us know who's still having problems creating an account, and we'll be more than happy to address those issues, okay? So using the chat feature, let us know if you're still having problems creating your account. If you already successfully created the account, we're good to go. But if you are having problems um, creating the account, let us know, and let us know what the issues are. So if we can go ahead and do that now, that would be great. So again, as I mentioned, this was an instruction we sent out last week about creating an account. About 50% of you indicated in the chat that you have already created an account. Everything's fine. About 50% of you said that you had not yet created your account. So we asked you to go through the process of creating your account. Most of you that did not have an account have indicated that you have created your account. But if you have not been account yet, please, using the chat, let us know, I'm such and such, I have not been able to create my account yet, and this is what these are the issues that I'm having, so that we can address those. I don't see anybody in the chat, do you, Christine or Gia?
No, I do not. I'm still working on those who had maybe some email mismatches. So I'll reach out to you all privately, but I don't see any other issues.
Okay. Anybody else? If you do have any issues still pending, Christine will help with those issues. Um, It says, do we complete the project name? Christine from Johnny Robinson.
So at this point, you're just logging into the account. So when you get into the account, you shouldn't be creating any new projects or sheets or anything like that. It's just really logging into the account. So if it's asking you for a project name, just feel free to click out of that. It should just be that main homepage.
And what you really need to do is, once you create your account, you could log out of Smart Sheets. We just need you in this step to create your account. You don't need to see any templates, nothing. Just create your account, log out. We're going to go through the whole process of accessing the applicant tracking system. You just need to create your account. As long as you have a functioning account, we would have succeeded at this step of the program.
And if I can just jump in again, I just also want to emphasize again that you only need a free account. So regardless of anything you see on Smartsheet that talks about paid accounts, you only need the free account. Your account will never expire. You will always have access to the system.
That's great information, Kimberly. So if you have an account, make sure that it's a free account. You don't need to have a license. Um, just creating your account that gives you access. You can log out right now. We're going to give you a link to access the applicant tracking system. So as long as you created your account, we are good. I don't see anybody else mentioning any issues. Christine and Gia. So what we're going to do at this moment is, before we go on to sections 6, 7, and 8, which are the three main sections where we're going to be talking about the system and the features and all of that, we're going to take a 10-minute break. It's 10:28 right now. As I mentioned, we will give you a break in the midpoint of the webinar. We are at the midpoint right now, so take 10 minutes. Make sure that you're back by 10:38. In the meantime, for those of you that still have issues, we will continue to work with you. Hopefully, fix those issues in these 10 minutes that we are having a break. Okay, thank you much. Hello, hello. We're gonna get going now with the second part of our webinar. Welcome back. Um, I'm hoping that those that are still having issues continue to work with Christine. Christine is working with Kimberly in the background to resolve those technical issues. So if you still continue to have issues, you have not successfully created your account, please let us know through the chat. Christine will continue to work with you as we move forward so that by the time we get to the point where you need to use your account, you already have an account that is active and operational. So thanks again for joining us today. We are talking about the applicant tracking system and how that integrates all of the Illinois Works programs and how you'll be able to use this system. Um, we're starting now with section number 6, the Illinois Works Applicant Tracking System features. So by the end of this section, you'll be able to identify all the features on the homepage of the Illinois Works Applicant Tracking System. You'll be able to utilize the graduate tracker. You'll be able to list the qualifications to be entered into the Illinois Works Applicant Tracking System. You'll be able to provide real-time feedback for us about improvements or recommendations. We're going to discuss monitor how content. We're going to be able to identify the actions that trigger control points. And also, we're going to discuss best practices for using this system. As we have been discussing, it's very, very important that you have an opportunity to learn how this system works. I am going to provide a link to you soon about where to access the system, but I want to be able to first go through the features. Then we're going to demo the features, and then you have an opportunity to do actual practice on the system. So when you log into the applicant tracking system, you will be taken to the homepage. And in the homepage, you're going to notice several important items. One is helpful links. The other one is the Illinois Works Pre-Apprenticeship Graduate Tracker. And then the other one is a feature for you to leave feedback. There's an icon on the actual screen to the right-hand side where you can leave feedback. We're going to discuss all of these in more detail in a minute. But before we do that, I do want to emphasize that when you go to the applicant tracking system, and it's showing right now on your screen how it's going to look for you, it's very important that you keep in mind that on the left hand side, there's going to be a blue ribbon that you're going to see. One thing that I want to bring to your attention, one of the icons that you're going to notice is a pages icon. If you click on that pages icon, it will eliminate the menu of the tracker. So I recommend that you really do not click on any of those icons on the blue ribbon. The only one that you're gonna need to click is the one that you see all the way at the bottom. That icon will allow you to log out of your account. So that's the only icon that we recommend that you click on once you're in the tracker. It will, through that icon, you could get out of, if you no longer need to use the system, you click on that, you get out of the system, and you're good. The other icons on the blue ribbon, please do not go into them. You don't need those. Everything that you need to do on the system is actually on the white part of the tracker. So again, the blue ribbon, the only one that you will need to use is the one at the bottom to be able to exit your account. So that's an important clarification and an important feature to keep in mind. Now, helpful links is the first thing that you're going to see on the actual applicant tracking system homepage. And through those helpful links, you're going to be able to do several things. One, you're going to be able to submit a new graduate. It allows you to submit a new graduate. And there's also a mass intake upload. One of the key features that we got feedback on from several grantees was that they needed to be able to do mass uploads into the system. If you have cohorts graduating with 20, 25 people, you don't want to be entering them one by one. I mean, you can enter them one by one, but if you do want to do a mass upload. There's a mass upload feature. Then there's a mass intake applicant tracking template that we will discuss. You will notice it there. And then there is the grantee manual link. In case you still have questions about, you know, who are graduates of Illinois Works or some other information related to our program, the grantee manual link will be there. Okay, so that's very important. Pay attention to that. So let's talk about submitting a new graduate. So the first feature will be in the helpful link to submit a new graduate. You click on that and there will be a form that pops up, and you are seeing the form right now on your screen. This form needs to be completely filled out in order for you to be able to submit a new graduate. And asks all kinds of information. And it's very, very important that as you complete this information, that you actually get this information from your graduates. This information cannot be something that you come up with. Um, some of it is simple because it asks you when did they graduate, what certifications you have. You can certainly do that. But there are a lot of questions on this form that are graduate based. For instance, their mode of transportation. You know, how far are they willing to travel for a job site? All of that information needs to come from the graduates. So under the file upload, you have two options. Um, and it's important here that that you learn what these are, so that in case you want to use one or you feel more comfortable with one or with the other, you can grab and drag a file. So in this case, we're talking about the resume, um, or even you could include certifications there, copies of their certifications. You can grab and drag the file and hold it within the dotted lines of the box, or you can select browse files um, and click on the appropriate file that you want to upload. Once you have done that, either grab and drag or browse files, you have to press uh, um, upload, and then you're going to be able to upload the file that you want to add to the profile. Then you'll have to press submit. It's If you want a copy of this, you can press the button there that says send me a copy of this. You could send yourself a copy of it. You're going to be
I think we just lost Norman for just a moment, so he should be, it should be reconnecting shortly. Thank you so much for your patience. While we're just waiting for Norman to reconnect, I just want to do another check-in with everyone and make sure that everyone has access to this system. So I've been working with some of you. It seems like we've got everyone that I have connected with has been able to kind of get back in. So if you are still experiencing any issues, if you can please just write those in the chat and I will connect with you one-on-one. Also, please know, so once you get into the system, you will just see kind of that main page. So don't set up any new projects or any templates. The system is going to prompt you to do that just because they want you to start using it right away. But please just go ahead, log in, and then you don't need to take any other actions at this point. So if you are still having issues, please just put those in the chat. And again, Norman should be reconnecting very shortly. Thank you so much for your patience.
Okay, I think I am going to make a bold move here and continue. And then when Norman joins, we may go back so that he can focus on points that he thinks might be important to emphasize. And Christine is on the line, and I think, yeah, Kimberly is on the line as well. Oh, Norman, are you
I
here?
apologize. I think
Oh, wonderful. Okay.
I really apologize. I don't know what happened. The whole thing crashed. But so I was saying that to submit a new graduate, you just play submit, and then you're able to get a copy of it, enter your email address in that box, and then be able to get a copy of it uh, for your own records if you want to. Once you submit, the system uh, will update itself, and then that information you submitted will appear on the tracker. And we will be talking in a minute about that tracker and how you can then modify any submissions that you made. The second link, a helpful link, is the mass intake upload. Um, and the mass intake upload is a feature that allows you to upload several people at a time, 110 or 5 at a time. What's really important about this feature is that it's more complicated to execute than the individual one. And I just want to make sure that we do justice to that because uh, it is very user friendly in terms of entering the individuals there in mass, but it's more complicated in terms of transmitting that information. So what happens with this one is that there's a 3-step process in terms of uploading that information to the Illinois Works system. So what you will need to do once you have entered a particular individual is the first step in order to transmit it is that you can see a green column that says submit to the applicant tracker, right? You'll have to press that and there's a check mark that needs to be there. Once you have done that, and if you have 10 individuals, you're going to have to press it 10 times, one for each individual. Then the second step is that you're going to have to save. That's the reason why you will notice the save uh, um, icon in red. So the first step is you press submit to applicant tracker. Second step is save. And then in order to actually submit this information to us, you're going to have to click the refresh button, the refresh icon on your browser. And that's the third thing that is highlighted here in red. So once you do those 3 things, once you press refresh, the information on that form should disappear. If the information on the form didn't disappear, is because you didn't successfully transmit it. You're going to have to go through the process again of transmission, the 3 steps. Click on the individual, then save, then refresh. Again, if the information disappears, is because you have successfully transmitted it. If it doesn't disappear, is because you have not successfully transmitted it. So if you successfully transmit it, you're going to be able to see it on the tracker. You'll be able to, and as I said, we're going to go into those screens in a minute. You'll be able to see where you see that information. But if it has disappeared, it's because you submitted it successfully into the tracker. Something that to keep in mind about the mass upload is that it does allow you to submit several people in mass, but it does not allow you to attach the resume. So what you will need to do is that you will need to go into the tracker, find the individual you submitted, and attach the resume one by one. That's a very important thing, okay? We'll show you how to do that in a minute. But I just want to make sure the convenience of being able to submit this en masse, it's great, but it does not allow you to attach a resume individually at this point. You will have to attach a resume once it's been submitted, and you could do it individually in the tracker, attach a resume at that point. Any questions about the mass upload that's available for you?
Hey, Norman, can I jump in for a moment?
Yes.
I think we tested that, and I think that the attachment will actually transfer over.
So the attachment would transfer over?
Yes. If they attach the resume here, when they submit it to the tracker, it should also transfer over to the applicant tracking system.
Okay, so if that's the case, where do you attach the resume? You could see right there after the number, and that's where they would have to attach the resume, right, Kimberly?
So they would, yes, right in on that attachment column on the left. That's where they would attach the resume on that person's applicable role. And when they click submit, everything should go over as well as the attachment.
Okay. So, so again, it's important. So the mass upload would allow you to submit several graduates at a time. If you do prefer to submit individual graduates, then use the form to submit individual graduates. But if you want to do it multiple at a time, you can use this upload. You'll need to follow the process for transmission that I mentioned, the 3-step process. And as Kimberly just mentioned, the feature to attach a resume here has been tested and it's operational now. You can do it in the role. You will not have to go back to the tracker to add it individually. You will need to add it here. So that's with regards to the mass upload.
So Norman, we have just a request in the chat. If you can just walk through those steps for the upload one more time.
Okay, so for the upload, in terms of transmitting the data, so what you do is with this mass intake upload, you'll fill it out. It's like an Excel spreadsheet that you fill it out. You have to fill in all the fields. Whereas with the individual one, it's a form that you fill out with all the fields. Here, it's like a spreadsheet, and you have to fill out every single field on this form for the individual, attach their resume, okay? And once you have done that for 5 or 10 or 15, however many you want to do, then you're ready to transmit your data, to upload your data to the Illinois Works Applicant Tracking System. And in order to do that, you need to follow 3 steps, okay? The first step is where it says submit to applicant tracker. You have to click on that. You know it's clicked because you're going to be able to see the check mark there. That's only the first step. It's not. That's only if you only do that, your data is not going to transmit. The second step is going to be saving it. Okay, you could see on the left top corner that the saved icon is highlighted there in red. That's the second step. At the third step, to actually submit the data, you're going to have to refresh, which is on the top right hand corner. You're going to have to refresh in your browser. Once you refresh, the data should disappear from this form. And that means that the data was transmitted. If the data does not disappear from the form, that means that the data has not been transmitted, and you have to go through those 3 steps again to ensure that data transmits, okay? So those are the 3 steps. So as I mentioned, it's a convenience because you can submit multiple people, but you got to keep in mind that it's a 3-step process. Whereas in the other form, the only thing you have to do is press submit, and then that data is gone, that information is gone. Here is 3 steps. Any other questions or comments related to that? Okay, so the other helpful link on the main page is the mass intake applicant tracking template. You will notice that that's actually an Excel template. That is not a required document you have to use. That is more a planning document. Let's assume that you're gathering all the information of the people you want to submit, and you want to gather one by one. Today you work on one, tomorrow you work on another one, and on you go. And it takes you a whole week to gather the information for the 10 people or the 20 people you want to submit. You can use this template as a workbook, enter all the information there. It mirrors what is going to be required on the mass upload. And then once you're ready to submit, just copy and paste this, put it on the mass upload form, attach the resumes, and then go through the submittal process. So again, I want to emphasize that this one is not a requirement. This is just a workbook that we're giving you in case it's going to take you time to gather all the information, several days, and you want to be ready, have somewhere all of that information collected before you're ready to submit. Then use this to do that type of work. But it is not a required document in order to submit, to do a mass upload. It's just a tool we're providing for you in order to make it easier for you to gather all the information. The next helpful link is grantee manual. As all of you know, the Illinois Works Grantee Manual is a resource for instructions, guidance, tools, and expectations for program design, implementation, and delivery. If you are a renewal grantee, you should have seen by now the 2022 version of this document. It's important to keep in mind that this link will give you access to that grantee manual now, and come January 1st, we'll give you access to the new grantee manual that is being published. So the new grantee manual will be published in January of 2023. So you'll be able to also access it through here. The grantee manual right now sits at the partnership page, the Illinois WorkNet partnership page, so you could also access it through there, but we wanted to make it easy for you in case you wanted to access it through here too. So again, the new grantee manual, the 2023 grantee manual, will be made available at the beginning of January, will be published at the beginning of January, and that's what will appear on this link. Okay, any questions related to this before we go on to the graduate tracker? So what happens once you submit your graduates into the system, they will appear on this graduate tracker, which is right below the helpful links that we were just talking about, okay? And, in the graduate tracker, you're going to be able to see information about the graduates that you entered. The graduate tracker contains your organization's list of Illinois Works pre-apprenticeship graduates. So if you are wondering if you successfully submitted someone, if you successfully uploaded information for someone, this is where you're going to be able to see. Can you see your graduate there on your tracker? If you successfully submitted their information, you should be able to see it there. You can use this to also update graduate information as it changes. So you'll be able to click on the individual. You click on the individual, you're going to see this box, this pop-up come up, and it's called details. And in the details, you're going to be able to see all the information that you entered for that individual, okay? you're going to be able to see any review notes that we might have put, that the Illinois Works people might have put when they reviewed your entry. The notes will appear there. And at the same time, you're going to be able to update information here. So let's say the individual change address. You know that they have a new address. Through here, you could change the address. City, you could change their phone number. You can change their email address. Any information that might have changed about that individual, that graduate, you're able to update it here under details. And if you are also need to change any attachments, let's say they secured a new certification, or you need to upload a updated resume for the individual, you can click attachments, and under attachments you'll be able to um, add the new resume for that individual. Keep in mind that you're not able to delete an old resume for the individual. You're able to add a resume to that individual's profile. But what we will use once we match an individual with an employer, we will use the latest resume that we have on file for them. Even though we may have 2 or 3 or 4 or 5, what we will use will be the latest resume we have on file for them whenever we do matching with employers. So it is through this box to update their information, and it would allow you then to submit the updates that you're making in order to for the system to update that individual's information. It is important, and we will talk about this later on, but you also have an opportunity to update their availability status through the system. We're going to show you a feature on how to do that. And their availability status, as I mentioned earlier, is very important because that will tell us if they're active and available for employment, or if they're inactive, or if they're already employed. Let's say you find out that they're already employed and they're not looking for another job. We want to be able to show them as employed in their status. Okay, any questions on how you can go about modifying someone's information? So you can transmit, enter their information to the system, and this is how you can update their information. And you can update their information through the years, same process, same system. Any questions, Christine?
No, we have no questions in the chat.
Okay, great. So who qualifies to be entered into the Illinois Works applicant tracking system? We already referenced this before, but I really want to make sure that we circle back to this, okay? As the Illinois Work Jobs Program Act indicates, individuals that graduated from the Illinois Works program, pre-apprenticeship program, can help or qualify to give their employers the ability to earn bid credits, right? And also individuals that are part of this system can help employers comply with the 10% goal on their contracts. So you can enter graduates of your program. If someone came in for a week or two and took only a few hours of class, they do not qualify to be entered into the Illinois Works applicant tracking system. We would encourage you, if they came in for, let's say, half of your program, they didn't finish, but now they come back again and they're interested, have them go through a path of completion with your program. Once they successfully complete, they can be entered. The exception to this rule includes completions and transitions that we granted an appeal, only if they are in a DOL registered apprenticeship program and they are looking for employment. So as some of you know, we have an appeal process for completions and transitions. There may be a reason someone did not complete or successfully transition, but they made it to a DOL registered apprenticeship program. If they are actively in a DOL registered apprenticeship program, they can be entered in the applicant tracking system, so that if they're looking for job opportunities in the future, they can receive this service. Okay, what's a case of someone not completing the program, but were granted an appeal? I'll give you an example. Maybe someone is 50% through their program. Some of our programs actually do transitioning services early on in the process. Maybe they apply to one of the trade unions, the carpenters, the electricians, the laborers, and in the middle of the process, they get called to join the apprenticeship program. Well, and at that point, they left our program because they joined the DOL register apprenticeship program. If that's what happened, then we typically would grant an appeal for the completion and even the transition of that individual. And as a result, those individuals would qualify to be entered in the applicant tracking system because they are already registered on DOL register apprenticeship program. So I hope that that clarifies that. So this system for Illinois Works graduates and individuals that participated but that are not graduates only qualified to be entered under the condition that I just mentioned. Other individuals that left the system, did not complete their program, do not qualify to be entered. That's one of the verifications that we're going to be making as part of our responsibility at the Office of Illinois Work, is to ensure that the individuals being entered in the system are actually graduates of the Illinois Works pre-apprenticeship program. Any questions about that? Okay, so the next function, next feature on the system is on the right-hand side on top. You will notice a particular icon that says leave feedback. It's a blue button in the upper right-hand corner. When you press that, a form, an electronic form will pop up, and it would ask for your feedback. And we ask, as you use this system, if you encounter any situations, if you would like to see some improvements, please do not hesitate to send us the feedback. We would love to hear from you, just because we want to make sure that this system is as efficient and as capable as we need it to be, so that it can do the job that it needs to do. So when you go into the form, fill out the form. If you want a copy of your feedback to be sent to you, just press that box, and it will ask you to enter your email address. And then when you press submit, you will receive a message saying, thank you for providing feedback. At that point, we will get your feedback through the system, and you will get a copy in your email. But we, again, really encourage you as much as you can, as you use the system, anything that you think needs improvement or any recommendations, please let us know. We will review those recommendations very closely, and then make a determination if we proceed with any changes based on all the feedback that we're getting.
And Norman, we have a question in the chat. How about apprentices who leave the program early because they got hired?
So again, the question here is, the ultimate goal of the Illinois Works system is to transition individuals into DOL registered apprenticeship programs. If they get hired and get sponsored into the registered apprenticeship program, if they got hired and got sponsored into a DOL registered apprenticeship program, yes, they do qualify to participate under the exception that I. However, if they just went out for employment, whatever that employment may be, and that's the reason why they left the pre-apprenticeship program, they would not qualify to be entered as a graduate in the applicant tracking system. Okay, actions that trigger control points. A data entry control is a preventive mechanism built into an application to ensure that data collected meets system requirements. Control points are critical to have in place for systems that collect data across various business processes. Data entry controls help maintain high integrity and data entered into the applicants. As a result, the applicant tracking system has several controls built into it to ensure the integrity of the data. Here are the key control points that are being used with the applicant tracking system. editing user rights, adding a new user, modifying user information, adding a new graduate, change information, and changing the availability status of a graduate. All of those will result in data control points for us. We will be, executing certain administrative transactions related to that just to ensure the integrity of the system. At the same time, there is monitoring, content monitoring that happens. Data monitoring is also a preventive mechanism built into an application to ensure that the data collected meets system requirements. While control points require administrative approvals before the system is fully updated with the new information, monitoring does not. Monitored content can be entered into the applicant tracking system without approval. However, an administrator will be alerted of the update. If the update requires feedback, you will be contacted by the administrator regarding the system update. So if you enter something, even though it may not require an administrator approval, but we do have questions about something, we will communicate with you about particular things that you might have entered there, and we may have related to that. Some of the monitoring content includes deactivating a staff member. That we'll be watching closely, and we will let you know if we have questions about that. Best practices. So here is really very important in order for this system to work the way it was supposed to work. Information should not be entered based on how the grantee wants to answer it. It has to be responses provided by the graduates. So as I said, I mean, there are some data points that you definitely know. For instance, you'll know when the graduate completed your program. You'll know the certifications they have. Um, Even the resume, you're going to be able to upload that. But when it comes to the distance someone is willing to travel to a job site, that is something that you need to ask from the graduate. Their mode of transportation is something that you need to ask from them. Those are questions that we shouldn't be answering for them. They need to answer those questions. The other thing that is very, very important, as I have mentioned before in this webinar, you need to make sure that the graduate's resume is updated. As you know, a resume is the key tool that employers use in order to get the full background of an individual. We will not be sending profiles out to an employer if we do not have a resume in the profile. So having a resume in the profile is a requirement. And it's also very important that it's an updated resume. The resume should show updated history. Okay. So it's very not only that they have a resume, but that the resume is updated. Ensure each form is comprehensively completed. Here's the other thing is that we really need all the details uh, that we're asking for graduates. So please make sure you're providing all of the information as requested. As I mentioned earlier, the applicant tracking system is really for the consumption of contractors and subcontractors, employers that are looking to hire people. So we really need to make sure that we have all of the information that is needed in order to do matching with those employers, between those employers and your graduates. Confirm the distance the graduates are willing to commute. This is very important. If opportunity, 100 miles away, are they willing to commute? Some people may be willing to do that. Some people may say, no, it's got to be within 10, 15 miles. Then that's it. We really need to confirm that. We don't want to be doing mismatching when it comes to employers. And confirm their transportation option. If they do not have available, reliable transportation they own, you don't want to be matching them with someone that is a job site that is 30, 40, 50 miles away. We really need to make sure that those transportation options have been confirmed. What's really very important here is that if the data in the applicant tracking system becomes static and is not up to date, it really loses its value. And the ability for us to successfully match graduates with job opportunities is not going to be there if the data is not up to date and it's static. The applicant tracking system should be updated in relation or in correlation with the post-transition follow-up expectations. When you conduct a quarterly follow-up questionnaire with that graduate and you discover that their contact information or their availability status has changed, the grantee, you need to go into the applicant tracking system and update the profile of that particular graduate. So you conducted a follow-up questionnaire and you find out that they no longer want to work in construction, that they are gainfully employed in manufacturing or in healthcare or in the hospitality industry, and that they have no interest of coming back to construction. You need to go and update their availability status to reflect that, because otherwise, again, the system is not going to be updated, and we're going to be putting out information to employers that is really not accurate. Okay, any questions about this?
No questions in the chat.
Okay, great. We're going to do the last section when it comes to how the dashboards work, and then we're going to go on to the hands-on practice. So section number 7, Illinois Works Applicant Tracking System Dashboards. By the end of this section, you'll be able to list the available dashboards in the applicant tracking system, access the employer electronic form, access the Illinois Works dashboard, access the grantee dashboard. And it's important that you know about all these features because the system has them all. In your particular case, you may have access just to a portion of them because of what you're doing, but the system has all of these features that allow it to function the way it functions. So a dashboard is a way of displaying various types of visual data in one place. Usually a dashboard is intended to convey related information in an easy to digest form. The Illinois Works Applicant Tracking System has 2 dashboards and an access point. The employer electronic form is the employer access point. There's also an Illinois Works dashboard, and then there is a grantee dashboard, which is what our main focus is today. So the employer interest form, is they will receive employers, or it's through a one-sheeter. An employer is interested in participating and they have job opportunities. They will receive a document with a link, and that link will take them to an interest form. It's an electronic form. And that will give access to the employer, and the employer will be able to request a list of candidates, Illinois Works graduates that meet specific criteria. At the same time, through that same link, they'll be able to provide an update related to the graduates that we send them, either that they interview them and hire them, or just interview them. They'll be able to do that through that link. So they will receive again a link where they be able to complete it electronically and provide different requirements. The Illinois Works staff will generate a customized report. The system allows to generate customized report of graduates to match the employer requirements. Employers will get the list of graduates along with the resumes for those graduates. And if they decide to interview or hire graduates from the list, they'll be asked to update the profile of that graduate using the form by choosing interview or hire update on the form. We are providing a link in the chat right now to that form so that you can see how that form works. But basically what we're asking the employer is all kinds of information related to the company, the type of work or service they provide, the educational credentials that they're needing, the number of positions that they need to fill, the prospective hire date, the city, the project that they're working on is located, the county, the years of construction experience they're requiring, the trade of interest, what particular trades should people be interested in order to work for them, any additional information that will help narrow the candidate list. So through that form, we're asking the employer to provide all kinds of criteria related to who they want, where they need to be located, what credentials, what experience they need to have. So the first question is, please tell us if you're requesting a list of candidates or providing an update of a of a previous interview or hire. If they choose request a candidate list, we'll ask all kinds of information about the company, company name, company, the contact name, their title, their email address, where they're located, the type of work the firm does, is the company signatory to a union. They can also tell us obviously the type of work. If what they want is a candidate list, they can tell us the education they want, the number of positions they need to fill. Again, the prospective hire that information. What we want is to tell us all the information we need in order to generate a matching list of graduates to address their needs. Now, if the employer comes back and to the answer to the question that we answer, they respond that what they want to do is give us an interview or hire update, then again, we'll ask information about the company, but then we start asking them information about who did they interview, you know, the date when they interviewed, any feedback that they want to provide for the interview, if the graduate was hired. And this is very important in order for you to also prepare your graduates for interviews. You know, when it comes to career services and transition services, you know, mock interviewing is going to be important. The employer can come back to us and provide interview feedback to us, and they can tell us your graduates were not ready to interview, or this is what happened in the interview. They didn't show up, or something happened in the interview. They can provide that information in our system, and that obviously information will be tagged to the profile of the individual that went through the interview, right? Um, so it is very, very important, again, that the information that you're providing in the profile for your graduate is up to date. It's all there because we're going to be using that and matching it against the requirements of the employer. Any questions about that before we go on to the Illinois Works dashboard?
Yes, we do have a question in the chat. So Jackie's asking, what happens when we get to a point where we are no longer in contact with a participant? Can we remove them or close a file?
So it is our interest that we will remain, you know, you will continue to do follow-ups with individuals. A lot of these individuals through time will actually be in DO registered apprenticeship programs, and they will become journeymen. Once they become journeymen, this type of system is no longer effective for them because you know, when they become journeymen, even when they are in DO registered apprenticeship programs, the unions or the sponsors of the DO registered apprenticeship programs work with them to secure employment for them. Okay. So, you know, the system plays a particular role before they go into DO registered apprenticeship programs. While they're in the DO registered apprenticeship programs, once they become journeymen, you know, this system really doesn't play a major role for them. However, our intention is as we continue to renew contracts for grantees, that there's going to be active and consistent communication with grantees through time, so that if they have changed and they have a need, they can certainly be continue to be active in the system. We also are going to come up with a campaign so that graduates are fully aware of the system, so that they know that if things change, they can communicate with their pre-apprenticeship provider, with the grantee, to update them on where they are and changes that might have happened related to their address or information. If there gets to a point where you really know that the grantee no longer needs these services, or the grantee has changed careers, or they've moved out of state, as I mentioned earlier, then you really need to make sure that you go into the system and you show them inactive, because there is no point in us having them as active in the system when we know for a fact that person is no longer active. So there's a variety of different ways that we're going to find out about that information. Follow up is one of them. The graduate may actually be communicating with you to let you know about their change in status. Okay, so the Illinois Works dashboard. So the Illinois Works dashboard, which is the most important part for you, I'm sorry, one of the most important parts for you, and it's very important, you should know, exists there, because that's where the Illinois Works staff will perform its roles and its functions when it comes to the system. This is the dashboard that we will use in order to give permissions, in order to be able to execute monitoring, in order to execute the various control functions that we have to execute. So this is the Illinois Works dashboard. So the dashboard provides comprehensive information to us, to the Illinois Works staff, related to each of the pre-apprenticeship graduates. We'll be able to see all the pre-apprenticeship graduates there, regardless of what program they're coming. Each of the fields that you entered is available to us, as well as additional information regarding the key graduated, the program they graduated from, their status, their current status, if they're available there. And this is the data that we use then to run reports to do matching against the requirements of the employers. And again, this is where we perform control functions related to the Illinois Works applicant tracking system. Any questions about that? There will be various types of reports that we're going to be able to run there. So we basically have a holistic view, whereas you, when you go into your dashboard, you're going to see the information for your organization through the Illinois Works dashboard. We're able to holistically see the information for all the grantees, for the hundreds of graduates, their status, their resumes, everything we're able to see through our dashboard. Okay, so the next thing is the grantees dashboard. So of course, the most important dashboard for you is the grantees dashboard. And this one would allow you to see the Illinois Works applicant tracker, and then also allows you to do the graduate status update. And if you are a a super user, if you're Access super user, you also have extra functions to be able to request or modify or delete user permissions. Okay. So the Illinois Works applicant tracker, this is very important. This is where we were before. This is the main screen on the when you enter the tracker. We're gonna, as I said, give you a link. You're gonna go there, and what you're gonna see is everything related to your program. You're gonna be able to see. You're going to be able to see all the graduates that you have entered. And here you're going to be able to see the status of those graduates, either employed, and these statuses are very important. Employed means that a graduate is currently employed in the construction industry. That's what employed means. Employed in this system doesn't mean that they're working at McDonald's. Employed in this system means that they are employed in construction. Okay. We did include a little section there with a legend so that you can see what those statuses mean. If they're available, it means that a graduate is seeking employment in the construction industry. It's not that they're available looking for employment in any other industry. What we want to know is, are they available for employment in construction? And inactive means that the graduate is not available for employment in the construction industry, or status is unknown. Okay. So those are the three statuses that you're going to be able to update for your particular graduate. In a minute, we're going to tell you how you update those, but it's very important that these three statuses are very clarified: employed, available, inactive, and what it means. We're talking about employed, available, inactive in relation to the construction industry, not in relation to any other industry, but in relation to the construction industry. In addition to the status category, please also notice the graduate review. This category is one of the Illinois Works control points. So when you enter a graduate in our system, we're going to give it a status, the review status. We will review that the graduate is eligible to be entered in the system. We're going to use IWRS. Did the individual successfully complete pre-apprenticeship program? And if they didn't, we're going to have questions. It may be denied. So once we have validated the specific entry for an individual, the category will change. So after an entry, after you enter in a graduate, the status will be pending review. Once we review it and we have questions, then the status will be revisions requested. Uh, if no revisions are needed, or if you responded to our revisions and we're fine with everything, then the status will be approved. And approved means that when we are matching graduates to particular employers, that individual, if that individual is active and is also approved, then that individual will be pulled into one of those reports. However, if the entry does not qualify to be in the applicant tracker, the status will be changed to denied. So if we're denying you enter someone and that individual does not qualify to be there, we will change it to denied. And at that point, they will not be able to be matched to any employer. So again, it's important that you keep the information updated. You go there to the tracker, you can see the status of your graduates. If you need to update something, you go and do that. Okay, so one of the options obviously is to update the individual's information. We already mentioned to you how that's done, and you could update. You just click on that individual. There'll be a box that pops up. You can modify all kinds of information. Graduate. At the bottom of the box, once you have done that, it would allow you to either discard changes or save them. It's very, very important that if you save information that it's correct, that it's updated. We need to make sure that it's constantly being updated so that it does not go stale. Employers will only, if we can only ensure that our graduates have an opportunity if we are giving employers the right information, the most updated information for that particular graduate. How do you go about updating the status for that graduate? What if you found out that person moved out of state, no longer in Illinois, no longer interested in construction? How do you go about updating their availability status? Notice on the screen, right? Notice it on the left-hand side that one of the options is graduate status update. The graduate status update will allow you to update the particular availability status for that individual. Simply select the graduate, again, like in the previous screen, you select the graduate and a detailed pop-up box will appear. Once you have made the appropriate updates, you'll be asked to either discard changes or save them. If you save them, you are changing the status of that individual. And the status will be either, as I mentioned earlier, employed, available, or inactive. Those are the statuses. And as you can see on the screen, those three statuses are described there of what each of those means. So make sure that if you're changing the status of a particular graduate, that you're choosing the right status, because based on those status, we'll know if that person is available to be matched to an employer request. We will monitor those changes that you're making, and if we have any questions related to those changes, we will reach out to whoever made those changes in the system. But just keep in mind that it's important that that status is correct and updated. Any questions before we move on to the demonstration and the practice?
We do have one question, Norman, from Betty. She's just asking, how long is a grantee expected to keep track of the graduate, particularly the ones who have not been picked up as an apprentice?
So, one of the key things for us, particularly for renewal grantees, is to ensure that grantees continue to maintain relationship with those grantees. In fact, one of the features that we're going to be debuting on the onboarding process, part of the onboarding process in January, it's a carryover feature that would allow for grantees to get paid for completions or transitions for individuals that they served in previous years. So let's assume that you have 5 individuals that have not successfully transitioned to DOL registered apprenticeship programs. We encourage you to continue to keep track with them on a quarterly basis, talk to them, find out where they are. If you are successful in transitioning them, even if it was through the applicant tracking system that we were able to match them, you'll be able to get paid at that point for that transition. So it's important that you maintain, if you're a renewal grantee, second year, third year, and then you come back in the system a fourth year or fifth year, it's important that you continue to keep, in contact with those graduates so that if they have not successfully transitioned, if you execute the transition, you'll be able to get paid for that individual through that carryover system that I just discussed. Okay, let's so now moving on to the next section. Let's see here. So we're going to be providing for you a link for the applicant tracking system. And that link, you're going to be able, if your account is active and you don't have any problems with your account with Smartsheets, you're going to be able to access the applicant tracking system. Christine, do we still have technical issues with some of the grantees?
I have not heard of any new ones. If people are still experiencing them, let me know, but I haven't seen any additional ones in the chat.
Okay. So by the end of this section, you're going to observe a demonstration of the applicant tracking system and features and functions. And then you're also going to be able to practice the various functions of the applicant tracking system, okay? So what I just did is that I provided the link right now in the chat to the applicant tracking system. If you could please go ahead and access through that link the applicant tracking system. Let me know if you have any difficulties accessing it. Right now, I'm sharing my screen. I just used the link to access the applicant tracking system. Are we all good with accessing the applicant tracking system? Did the link work for you?
We
Okay.
have some, oh, I'm sorry, Norman. We have someone who's just saying they had to click the request access button.
Can you, who's that person?
Chris Ford.
Chris Ford. Was that one of the participants that had technical issues, Christine?
It was not, no.
Okay. Kimberly, if you're still with us, can you please track his permission? Chris Ford, make sure that he's in the group, either the user group or the super user group, and see if issues with his permissions.
Yep, I'll reach out to you, Chris, and work through that with you.
Great, thank you. Is there anybody else, Christine, you see in the chat that doesn't have access to the applicant tracking system?
No.
Okay, great. So, so we're going to practice adding a graduate. We're going to practice graduate, modifying a graduate information. We're going to practice deactivating a graduate and providing real system feedback. So what I'm going to do right now is that I'm going to demonstrate to you do this, and then once we have done that, you'll be able to practice doing that. Okay. So here's the main screen. I mentioned earlier, this blue ribbon to your left is not needed. You do not need to access any of the icons there. The one that says your account, if you press on it, you can sign out of it. That's the only one that you will need to use. Everybody else, please do not touch. You can, you do not need any of those features. What you need is everything that is in white. Your access is either going to be grantee, super user, or grantee. Um, and the grantee, super user, and grantee are a little different because, as we mentioned, whereas T can enter uh, in graduates, update their information, change the status of a particular graduate, the grantee super user has the ability to also request employee access. They can ask us to, give an employee access to the system, to modify their access, to delete their access. So that's the difference between the super user and the user. You will notice here that I also have my Illinois Works or Office View, which is the Illinois Works dashboard. In this case, obviously, this is unique. Work staff will not see it in your system. So we're going to be working. I'm going to be using the grantee super user dashboard in order to perform these functions. Okay. So the first thing that we're gonna do is Illinois Works applicant. We're in the Illinois Works applicant tracker right here, so you can see that's where I am right now. And I'm going to press submit a new grantee. So as I mentioned earlier, when you press that, uh, I'm gonna be submitting an individual grantee. You could see here everything that I'm being asked here about that grantee. Uh, Important to keep in mind, as I said, this is all required information. I have to select what entity I work with, in this case, ABC organization. Enter your first and last name, Norman Ruano, um, email address. Now the graduate, obviously, whoever the graduate is, John. So, email address, and this is very important because, again, we're doing matching here. We want to make sure that the info we're providing here is active, accurate, so that an employer wanting to, um, you know, contact this individual can actually do that. Once we release this information to the employer is going to want to communicate with these individuals, right? Um, so here is our Monroe address, which is our facility here, the facility here in Chicago. County, the county is also very, very important uh, because certain employers may want information just about certain geographic area, right? The graduate, when they graduated, all of that. Um, is this a graduate enrolled in a DL registered apprenticeship program? You have to mention already DL program or not. If it's a non-union program, and again, the status, what's the status of this individual? Are they available? Are they employed right now? Are they inactive? If they're employed, again, it's employed in construction, is not employed in other sectors. They may be employed in other sectors waiting for a construction job. Uh, Graduate traits of interest. So there's a list here of graduate traits of interest. If you don't see one interest in, just place other, indicate other, and then um, you'll be able to give more information through their resumes. Um, List third-party certifications that they have. How many years of construction experience does the graduate have into the graduate's means of transportation? Here again, it's very important, right? They have their own reliable public transportation. What exactly do they have? Um, do they have a valid driver's license? Yes, no. How far is the graduate willing to travel, right? Um, no limit. They can go anywhere in the state. And then, as I mentioned earlier, you could choose to, drag and drop a particular file in here, or if you need to find a file, you just browse a file and then go look for that. And then if you say, send me a copy of this, it's going to ask for your email address so that when you press submit, it's going to send you a copy, and also the other information is going to go to the Illinois Works site. So that's how you submit individual graduates, right? The minute you press submit, you see this list down here. You're going to be able to see your graduates there. If we have not reviewed it yet, it's going to say pending. If we already reviewed, but we need clarifications, it's going to say revisions requested. If we denied it, then it's going to say denied. If we approved it, it's going to say approved. Now, for the mass intake upload, if you want to add more than one individual at a time, then you go here, and then you could enter all their information. Fields are on the form will appear here. You're going to have to enter all of those fields, and as Kimberly said, you could also add a resume here, attach a file to this row. So you press there and then attach a file there, and that will be their resume, their certifications. Once you have prepared this for all of the graduates you want to submit, you got to come here and click on the ones that you want to submit, right? Then you press save. That's the second step. After you press save, if you're ready to transmit, you just say refresh, and refreshing will allow you to submit all of the information to the Illinois Works platform. You will know if it actually happened by being able to see it on the tracker. So I'm leaving the form and going back to the tracker. Okay. So let's do this. You were asked to bring with you a particular graduate that you would want to upload into the system. So if you were able to successfully get into the system and you have the tracker in front of you, please right now go to submit a new graduate and enter the information of the graduate you brought with you along with their resume, and use that form to submit them into the applicant tracking system. So we're going to give you a few minutes to do that. Please go ahead and do that now. If you have any questions as you're doing that, please let us know so that we can walk you through the process. Again, in order for you to be able to do that, you need to be here, and you submit a new graduate. Once you press that, you can, and then you enter the graduate information there. Once you have done that, you can just press the X to close that form, and it will allow you to go back to the tracker. So again, through here, you can submit a new graduate. Do you see any questions or issues in the chat, Christine?
No, not at this time.
If you do not submit all the required information, you're going to get a message that says the information you enter is incomplete or invalid. It will not allow you to submit until you include all the required information. If you included all the required information, successfully submitted, it's going to say success. We've captured your response. Please let us know once you have successfully submitted your graduate. Do you see anybody successfully completing and submitting their graduate, Christine?
I don't have anyone reporting it in the chat at this point. They might still be working on it.
Uh, Okay, is anybody having any difficulties performing this function in the applicant tracking system?
So we do have a question, just are we entering just a fake person? It's telling me I must upload a document. So this should be your graduate that you brought with you today. So you should be entering a real person and uploading their resume.
We had sent instructions uh, before joining this course last week that you needed to bring with you the information for one of your graduates so that you could enter it into the system, so that you could practice the system. If you do not have a you know a real individual, you can certainly use a test individual. But what that means is that you wouldn't have a resume for a real individual. You're probably going to have to attach a blank Word document um, for a test individual. Just make sure that whatever you call that test individual, just after their name, you put test so that we know that it's a test individual that we can deal with. Ideally, you're working with a real graduate based on the instructions that we had submitted last week. Any other questions or comments, Christine?
No, we do have several people saying that they completed an upload. Asia just completed, Brooke completed, Jackie completed. So they are, looks like we are getting more and more people added.
Okay, great. So as you're completing submitting of your graduate, you should be able to see them in the tracker in front of you. So when you you press on the X and you close that form, that individual should be showing on your applicant tracker when you're back on the tracker.
And we are showing several graduates in the system now on our end. So Macon County, YBLC, Lumity, CAPS, Metropolitan Family Services, and another from YBLC. So great job, guys. Keep going.
Yep, I see several of them. Okay, we're gonna give it a few more minutes, just a couple more minutes to finish this so that we can go on and do the updating of the graduate information. Then we still have to do the updating of the status of the graduate. And after that, we're gonna do the provide real system feedback. Then we have the super user features. Do you see any other ones, Christine? I only see 6 being transmitted so far.
Let me refresh and see if we have any others. So we have another from St. Paul Church of God in Christ Community Development.
Okay.
It
So
does look like Daniel is having some difficulty. Daniel, if you could just let us know in the chat what's happening on your end.
I only see 7 um, 7 graduates entered so far. Any other issues that you're seeing in the chat, Christine?
It looks like there's an error message. Kyle, can you resend the error message? Not seeing it come through. It does look like individuals are still completing. All right, so it looks like Kyle says there was an error submitting the form. Please try again. If the problem continues, contact the owner of this form. Okay, Kyle, let me, I'm gonna touch base with you privately and see if that's something we can solve one-on-one.
We have 10 graduates that have been submitted. Okay, soon we're gonna have to move on because we still have several features that we need to practice. So we've spent quite a bit of time here on this submission. Um, if you have not been able to successfully submit your graduate, I encourage you to do that. Go in practice, making sure that you're using an actual graduate with an updated resume for them, so that you could practice submitting a graduate, making sure that it's appearing applicant tracker. So far, we probably have about 15 so far. Still need many more to be done. So going back now to the next function, once you have entered your graduate and it appears, on the applicant tracker, you can now, the next function we're going to look at is updating their information. So let's assume that you need to update the information related to that particular applicant and that particular graduate. So you just click on it just the same way that I click. I'm going to close the pop-up box so that you can see, you find the individual and then you click on the individual. Once you click on the individual, the pop-up box called details shows up, and there you could see the name of the individual, and then all their information, their address, uh, um, construction experience, certifications they have, their interests, do they have a driver's license or not. You can then make modifications to those things. Let's assume they didn't have a driver's license, but now they do. So you could enter here, and let's assume that before they had public transportation, now they have their own transportation. You could update it there. And let's assume that before, because they are their transportation, they could only travel, 0 to 15 miles. But they're willing to travel a lot more than that, right? Let's assume that they say, I'm willing to go, no limits, right? So no limits. Um, that's weird. So here's a little technical error. Um, the distance willing to travel, drop down menu is not working properly. Um, we'll fix down that. So let's assume that they can do other options, right? And once it works, it'll give you all the options. You have two options once you made those changes. You could discard those changes or you can save them. Obviously, if you save them, it will update the profile of that individual, okay? So we say save, right? So then that new information has been saved for that particular graduate. And let's assume now that you also want to add and update a resume. As you can see, there's already a resume for this individual on file. As I mentioned earlier, you cannot delete it. It doesn't allow you to delete it, but you can certainly attach a new resume. And as you can see, the resume has the date and the time when it was uploading. When you attach a new resume, it's going to have the date and time. And whenever we do matching for this particular individual, we're going to be able to use and send to an employer the latest resume that you submitted. Okay, so that's how we do. That's how we update the information for a particular individual. Um, so can you please go and find the person that you entered on your screen, on your tracker, and press on that individual and make sure that you can see all the functions that I was just showing in case you needed to change something for that individual. Any comments on the in the chat, Christine, related to these features?
We did have a question from Kashmir asking, if, as a super user, would she be able to view other users? Kimberly did let her know, just so everybody knows this, that the person who submitted the graduate can see them immediately, and the graduate will then be available to all approved users the next day, grantee users the next day.
So how many graduates do we show were submitted, Christine?
Just one moment, my system's refreshing. I have a 13 submitted right now.
Okay, so we still have a lot of people that have not entered graduates, so they haven't been able to practice. So for those that did submit graduates, I hope you were able to do the updating feature that I just showed you, which is very important because it would allow you to then obviously change different data points related to your graduate that are important, right? Um, so now moving on to the third feature that we want to show you, and it has to do with updating the status availability of those graduates. So, you know, the tracker is where all your graduates appear. That's where you can make the change to their information. But if you want to update their status, their availability status, you will go to the graduate status update, click on that. That screen will show on your screen. And what you're going to be able to do there, you can see there what their status is, who the person is. So these are all sample, sample individuals that I entered in my system in order to be able to demonstrate this to you. But whoever the graduates that you entered here, you're going to be able uh, make a change to their availability step. In this case, if you're choosing that they're employed, and remember, employed in this system means that they're employed in construction. It will ask you the employment date, the employer that they're working for, the information about their employer. Okay. Um, Employer contact name, employer contact title, employer contact email, signatory to a union, were they sponsored to a DOR register apprenticeship program, in the trade that they're working in, right? What will pop up if you say that they're employed? If you say that they're available, okay, then you don't have to enter any type of employment information. You just say that they're available for employment. And if you say that they are inactive, then you enter, again, inactive, and you don't have to enter any employment information there. But it's very, very important.
Inactive. Times. Employment date.
Uh, I don't know.
Employer company name. Employer address.
I don't. I don't know.
Employer city.
I don't know how.
Norman, it looks like you might have just activated the accessibility feature. So up at the top, you can
Employer
just
contact
choose
name.
that little X next to
Employer
voice
contact
options.
title.
Yeah, I just got. Okay, good. So I was just reading everything on the form for me here, but so again, it's very important that that status is accurate at all times, because this is what we use to be able to do the matching with the employers. So that's the reason why there's a particular option in the menu for you to just update that. What's their status? Are they available? Are they employed? Are they inactive? Now, if you want to discard the changes, made a mistake, discard the changes. But if you say save, then obviously the profile for that particular graduate will be changed. We will monitor whatever changes you're making, but as you can see, it was immediately changed in the system. So those are the key features. If you are a user, those are the key features that you have access to. You have access to enter graduates either individually or in multiple of them. You have access to the applicant tracker to update that individual's information, their contact information, their transportation, their driver's license. And if you need to change their status because they're no longer available, they're employed, or they're inactive, you use the graduate status update, okay? So those are the only two features that will pop up on your dashboard if you are a regular user, grantee user. If you are a super user, then you're going to have more options. So at this particular moment, we will ask that the regular users leave the webinar, and then we just need the super users to stay so that we can go over the super user features. Before you leave, let us know if you have any other questions. Um, but at this point, we would like for the super users to stay, and then the regular users can drop out of the webinar. Thanks for joining us today. You will be receiving a link to request your feedback on the training. So please do not hesitate to ask questions, or please make sure to respond to the evaluation of this webinar to make sure that that we get all the necessary feedback to continue to upgrade these courses as needed in the future. Okay, so we have people that are regular users leaving, and we have the super users that are staying. We're just going to give that a minute, and then we're going to get going with the super user access to demonstrate that. Um, Okay, so when it comes to the super users, as I mentioned earlier, the super user is a different type of access. Uh, and it's a different type of access because it gives the super user the extra feature of being able to request and update employee access. So we have already demonstrated and used the applicant tracker features to submit, uh, individual graduates or multiple graduates. We have also demonstrated and used the graduate status update to be able to update the status of your graduates to know if they're available, they're employed, they're inactive. But the extra feature that a super user has is an employee access. And when it comes to the employee access, here is going to be mainly a demonstration. You're not going to be able to do much of practice yourself, because obviously here you will need to either modify the access of your own um, employees or request access for new employees. But I'm going to demonstrate these features to you so that you know how to go about doing this, okay? If you do know of a new employee that you would like to give access to, you can certainly do this with me. So add a new employee. So you will request through this form access for that new employee. Again, your organization name, um, what's your name, what's your email address. Uh, we use this information to verify and confirm that you do have the rights to do this type of transaction. What's the employee's first name? What's the employee's last name? What's the employee's position title? What's their email address? Um, and again, that employee, in order to have access to gain the access that you're asking for, once we approve it, they're going to have to set up a free Smartsheet account. We're providing the information here. A paid account is not needed for them to access the applicant portal. So then if you want, again, a copy of the information that you're requesting, you put your email address, you submit, then you're going to get a copy, and we're going to get this request. What's very important here, you notice, it's a very simple process. Who you are, who you're requesting access to, and obviously giving us their email account. That email account, when they create an account, needs to be the same one. When they create Smartsheet's account, needs to be the same one that you're entering here. If we close this box here, it will send me back to the tracker, the employee access tracker. There, able to immediately see the person that you entered, okay? And the system will show what their status is. Are they activated? Are they deactivated? What is their status, right? So, so that's how you entered. How you request access for a particular employee within your organization. Um, Now, to make changes to their access, you do the same thing that you did in the other account. However, For some reason, the system is not responding. Hi, Kimberly. Can you hear me?
Yes.
For some reason, the system is not allowing me to go and request changes. And
It looks like it just may be like an internet or network issue. So maybe refreshing might
yeah, I just tried
change
to.
that. It doesn't look like a Smartsheet specific error.
Okay. Okay, here we are again. Let's see if it allows me to do that. Okay. Okay, here it is. Thank you, Kimberly. So I'm able to again choose the individual that I want to make changes to, and these are all the changes that you could request. Remove this employee. You can request to remove the employee, the date. Uh, um, information needs to be updated. The position title change. You know. So you want to change their email address. You want to change their status in the applicant. Right now it's activated. We would change the status. Wherever you see IW, that means we did it because we're the ones that have to grant uh, the privileges to the individual. Um, and then the date when you updated the tracker, right? So you could definitely make those changes. Once you've made the changes, you could either discard them if you think they're incorrect or save them. And once you save them, they will come to us for us to execute an administrative transaction on it so that be it that you're eliminating the privileges for this person or that change some information for them, we can ensure that the transaction gets executed. So that's when it comes to um, making changes for that individual. So as a super user, besides entering graduates and entering, updating their information and changing the status, their availability status, you can also enter individuals that you want to give access to in your organization. And then you could also modify their particular access to the system. So that's it for the system for the super user special privileges. As I mentioned, unfortunately, unless you have a new person you would like to add to the system, it's very difficult to do actual hands-on practice uh, because of the nature of this function. Um, any questions or comments in the chat related to this feature, Christine?
Yes, we do have a question from Ian. He's asking, what would the turnaround be for you completing these types of changes?
It typically will happen within 24 to 48 business hours. Any other questions?
No other questions in the chat at this
Okay,
time.
great. If there are no other questions, I'm gonna pass it on to Dr. G.S. Suggs, who's gonna do the webinar evaluation quickly here before we close. We certainly appreciate you joining us. Uh, Provide candid feedback as comprehensive as you can so that we can improve this webinar moving forward. I thank you again for taking the time. I hope this has been a very productive session for you. We will be sending you an email with information about the link to the particular applicant tracking system and information of when we need for you to enter your graduates. Okay, I know the holidays are around the corner, so we'll be mindful about that. But thanks again for joining us. And now, Gia, if you could please go ahead.
So most of you are already familiar with Mentimeter. And we are trying a new feature here. So we've added the QR code. So you can either grab your phone or on the computer that you're on and do www.menti.com and then enter the code 8637278 or you can just take your phone and scan the QR code, and I'll give you just a second to do that. And then I will switch over and pull up the Mentimeter questions. Before I switch over, does anyone need a few more moments to either scan or enter the code?
Gia, Daniel's saying that the code was not being accepted.
Okay, let me try one thing here. Hold on one second. Okay, let's try it now. Let's share my screen. Okay, I'm going to pull up the PowerPoint first, and then I'm going to switch over here. So try scanning now. Does it work now? And if not, just do www.menti.com, and I will drop this into the chat. Let's see. Okay, we're going to walk through the questions. This will only take a second.
Gia, before we jump into that, I just tried to enter the code and I'm just getting an error message that said the code could not be found.
8637-2780.
Correct.
It is here and it is up. Here, let me share my screen so you all can see this. All right, here it is, and here's the code. I want to try with you. This should be fine.
So, Gia, it looks like the code at the top let me in, but this 86372780 did not let me in.
That is so curious because these should match. These are both from Mentimeter. Okay, so let's use the code here at the top. Oh, people are getting in. Awesome, thank you. Huh, they are giving it. It might just be a system glitch. All right, so let's move forward with the evaluation really quick. Please share your views on this training by rating the following statement from 1 to 10. And we see that some are already weighing in, so you can use your phone or your computer. Great, thank you. I'm going to do this copy link too and put this in the chat. Here, see, that may work also. All right, thank you so much. Let's move to the second question. This course was relevant to what I wanted to learn about the subject matter. Again, you can either type in www.menti.com and then put in the code, or I think the link that I just entered will actually take you there. All right, I plan to apply what I learned. You can still join in and provide feedback. What improvements might you recommend? I know this one is an open-ended question, so we'll give it a second for people to type in their feedback. Okay, great, thank you. Shorter webinar time. Any other thoughts? Mm-hmm. Okay. Great, thank you. Okay, great, thank you. Most of these are around the time frame. Yeah, awesome. Okay, we appreciate this. Mhm. All right, thank you. And then what did you find effective? So if we make changes, what do you recommend we keep? If we make, and you all have, several of you have been with us for a while, so we do take this feedback and make adjustments based on that feedback. So what did you find effective? If we make changes, what would you recommend we keep? Okay, good. So the demo was very helpful. Okay, hands-on. All right, keep playground. Oh, but give more time to test demo, okay? System overview and demo, the hands-on. All right. So of course, the most valuable part was the practical application. Awesome. More demos. Okay. Okay. The specific slides with the red screenshots. Mm-hmm. Okay. And a little less around the 3 programs. All right. Thank you. Last question. Is there anything else about this course you would like to share with us? All right. Thank you for that. Okay. All right. If there's nothing else, I will turn it back over to Norman. Thank you.
Thank you much again for joining us. We appreciate your feedback. And as always, I hope you enjoy the holidays with your loved ones. We will certainly circle back about timelines for entering your graduates. And also, we'll be circling back for those of you that have received renewal opportunities about the onboarding process that will take place starting in January. So, once again, thank you. If you have any questions, don't hesitate to reach out to your grad manager. Technical questions related to the system or procedural questions. We thank you again for joining us and take care.